Welcome to Money First CEO, the podcast for business owners ready to run their business like a boss and make their money work smarter, not harder. I'm Harman Johnston, bookkeeper, Profit First professional, business coach, and mum of two from Sydney, Australia. I've built a thriving business by mastering money habits and systems that create real freedom. This show will help you take control of your finances so you can build a business and life that truly works for you. Every episode delivers one powerful takeaway you can action right away for more clarity, confidence, and cash. And from time to time, I'll be joined by special guests, fellow entrepreneurs, experts, and real business owners, sharing their money wins, lessons, and insights to inspire your next move. Because when you put money first, you unlock the options and freedom you deserve. So hit follow, grab your coffee, and let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome back to the Money First CEO podcast, where we believe if you put your money first, the rest will follow. I'm your host, Harman, and today I'm going to share something that might make some of you uncomfortable. I've spent $20,000 on my business this month, and that's in addition to the usual expenses. And I know for some businesses, it's not a big amount, but for my business, it was big. And I didn't spend the money on a new car or a fancy office or on things to make me look successful. I invested it into becoming better. And I want to walk you through exactly where it went and why. Because I think there's a conversation we need to have about what it actually costs to build a business that lasts. Not what it looks like on Instagram, what it actually costs behind the scenes. People usually see the outcome, the results, the growth, but they don't see what it takes to get there. The decisions, the investments, the moments where you have to back yourself and spend money before you can see the return. And that's what today's episode is all about. I'm going to break down every dollar, explain the thinking behind each investment, and talk about how a Money First CEO approaches spending on their own growth. So let's get into it. The first investment I made this month was copywriting, professional copywriting for our office, including the financial card system. So I've talked about this on the podcast before. I tried writing my own copy for a long time. I'd sit down, draft something up, put it out there and hope for the best. And the results were okay, not terrible, but not great either. Conversion was low, people were landing on the page, but not really taking the next step. And here's the thing I had to accept. I'm a bookkeeper, I'm a Profit First professional, I'm good at cash flow and systems and helping business owners get their money sorted. But I'm not a copywriter. We're making big changes to Office right now. Refining the financial calm system, sharpening the messaging, making sure that when someone lands on our page or reads about what we do, they understand immediately how we can help them. And that requires a great copy, not just a good one, a great one. Because the reality is, if people don't understand how you can help them, they won't buy. It doesn't matter how good your service is. If the message doesn't land, the person moves on. I could have written it myself or continued to do it and save some money, but I would have also lost the time and ended up with something I wasn't fully confident in. Again, so I brought in a professional, Claire. Someone who specializes in messaging for service-based businesses, someone who knows how to take what I do and translate it into words that connect with the person reading them. And we actually do bookkeeping and Profit First with Claire, the copywriter. So she knows exactly what we do and why we do. And the difference is already showing. The way the offers are being presented now is sharper, clearer, and more aligned with what our ideal client actually needs to hear. So here's why I'm sharing this with you, because I know a lot of you listening are in the same position. You're trying to write your own website copy, your own sales page, your own social media captions, lead magnets, and it's taking you hours and the results aren't matching the effort. And I get the hesitation. Copywriting feels like something you should be able to do yourself. It's just words, right? But great messaging changes everything. It's the difference between someone reading your page and thinking that's nice versus reading it and thinking this person gets me, I need to talk to them. And that shift is worth the investment. It pays for itself through every client it converts, every inquiry it generates, every person who reads it and takes the next step. So if you're sitting there writing your own copy and not getting the results you want, consider this your sign to bring in someone who does it for a living. It's not an expense. It's one of the highest return investments you can make in your business. And if you'd like me to refer you to Claire, send me a message. Okay, so the second investment was an AI retreat. And this is one I want to talk about properly because I think it matters for all of us. AI is still a relatively small part of how I run my business today. I use it in some areas, I've played around with tools, but if I'm being honest, it hasn't been a core part of how I operate. Well, not yet anyways, but it's going to be. And look, I had a choice. I could have sat on the sidelines and watch what happened, wait until it becomes unavoidable, figure it out later when everyone else has already moved ahead, or I could go all in now and learn how to use it properly while there's still time to get ahead. I chose all in. So I signed up for an AI retreat. It's not a webinar or a course. It's a proper immersive hands-on experience where I could learn from people who are already using AI to transform how they run their businesses. And here's why I think it matters. The businesses that adapt to AI are going to be the ones that grow, the ones that don't fall behind. That's not me being dramatic. That's just the reality of where things are heading. AI is changing how we create content, how we communicate with our clients, how we manage systems, how we analyze data. It's touching every part of business. And as a bookkeeper and profit first professional, I see the potential clearly. Better reporting, faster insights, more efficient processes, tools that help my clients understand their numbers even more easily. But potential means nothing if you don't know how to use it. So I'm investing in learning, not just dabbling, actually learning. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, I don't need to worry about AI yet. My business is fine. And look, it might be right now, but the pace of change is fast. And the business owners who are proactive, who invest in learning before they're forced to, are always the ones who come out ahead. This is a money first CEO decision. And it's not about chasing trends. It's about investing in the future of your business before the future arrives. And it doesn't have to be AI for you. Maybe it's a different skill, a different area of your business that's evolving. The point is the willingness to invest in learning, to go beyond what's comfortable, to admit that there are things you don't know yet. And that's what separates business owners who grow from business owners who plateau. I'd rather spend the money now and be ready than wait and scramble to catch up later. And that's how I approach everything in business, and this is no different. Now, the third investment, and this is the one that was the hardest for me to admit, I invested in a sales retreat. You probably got a sense that I love retreats. I've avoided sales for years. I've always told myself I'm not a salesperson. I just want to help people. And I mean it. I genuinely got into this work because I wanted to help business owners get their money sorted. And that's my passion. And that's what drives me. But here's what I've come to understand over the years. Helping people and selling are not opposites. In fact, they're connected. If someone needs help and I can provide it, but I can't confidently explain the value, can't have the pricing conversation, can't guide them to a decision, then I'm not really helping them. I'm leaving them stuck. So selling isn't about convincing someone to buy something they don't need. Selling is about clearly communicating how you can solve someone's problem and giving them the confidence to say yes. And I wasn't doing that well enough. Look, I probably was to an extent, otherwise I wouldn't be here today. But that's something I can definitely do better. I've done discovery calls where I knew I could help the person. I could see exactly what they needed. But when it came to presenting the offer and having the money conversation, I'd hesitate. I'd undervalue what I do. I'd give too many options instead of making a clear recommendation. I'd let the person walk away to think about it when really they just needed me to guide them through the decision. And every time that happened, it wasn't just lost revenue. It was a business owner who needed help walking away without it because I wasn't confident enough in the sales process to help them properly. And that's a hard thing to admit when you run a business, but it's true. So I've invested in a sales retreat. Proper training, not sleazy, high pressure, manipulative nonsense, but real ethical sales skills. How to have conversations that serve people, how to present value clearly, how to handle objections without being pushy, how to close with confidence because you genuinely believe in what you're offering. And I want to say this directly to anyone listening who feels the same way I did. If you're uncomfortable with sales, if you tell yourself you're not a salesperson, or if you shy away from pricing conversations, you are limiting how many people you can help. And I don't care how good your service is. If you can't sell it, you can't deliver it. And if you can't deliver it, you can't make the impact you want to make. And the best business owners I know are excellent at sales. Not because they're pushy, but because they're clear. They know their value, they communicate it well, and they make it easy for the right person to say yes. And that's what I'm investing in. Not becoming a salesperson, but becoming a better communicator, a better leader, a better guide for the people who need what I offer. If I can't confidently sell, I can't help as many people as I want to. And helping people is the whole point, isn't it? So it's time to get better. And the fourth part of the $20,000 was annual subscriptions. And this is the one where I put on my profit first hat. End of financial year sales are one of my favorite times to buy. And I know that sounds odd for someone who talks about being careful with expenses. And there's a difference between spending and strategic spending. And here's what I did. I looked at all the software subscriptions and tools we're currently using, things we're going to be paying for anyway over the next 12 months, and where I could, I prepaid the annual subscriptions. 3 reasons. First, it's cheaper. Most software companies give you a discount for paying annual versus monthly. Even if it's 10 or 15% across multiple tools, that adds up. And over the year, I'm paying less for the same thing. Second, it simplifies cash flow, planning for the next financial year. Instead of having multiple monthly charges hitting the account unpredictably, those costs are already covered. My operating expenses next year are lower, my monthly outgoings are cleaner, and I can plan and forecast more accurately. And third, and this is the practical bit, it brings expenses into this financial year, which means they reduce my taxable profit for this year. Now, let me be clear about something. I have no problem paying tax. I think it's great when you have to pay tax. It means you're doing well. Tax is part of running a business. It means you're making money. And I'd never encourage anyone to spend money purely to reduce their tax bill. That's not smart, that's wasteful. But if there's a legal, legitimate ways to invest back into your business instead of handing over more tax, and those investments are things you're going to spend on anyway, that's just smart business. So I've had my tax planning meeting with my accountant 2 weeks ago, looking at the tax, and it seemed like a good idea to reduce it. So why not? And it's the same principle I teach my clients. Don't make spending decisions based on tax alone. Make spending decisions based on business value. And if those decisions also happen to reduce your taxable profit, that's a bonus. And this is where having your numbers clear makes all the difference, because I know my profit, I know my tax position, I know exactly how much room I have to make these prepayments without affecting my cash flow or my allocations. I'm not guessing, I'm making decisions from real data. And that's the profit first piece in action. The money for these prepayments came from my operating expense account, which is funded by my allocations. It didn't come from tax, it didn't come from profit, it didn't come from my pay. It came from where it was supposed to come from, because the system works. Simple decisions add up. Prepaying subscriptions you're going to use anyway, timing your purchases strategically, using the end of financial year to set up the next year for a cleaner cash flow. None of this is revolutionary, but most business owners don't do it because they're not looking at their numbers closely enough to make these calls. I had a decent buffer in my operating expenses. I had a big tax bill, so I didn't really have to think that hard to make that call. So if you're heading into end of financial year, have a look at subscriptions. Are there any you could prepay if you have the money? Because that will save you money. Would it simplify your cash flow? Would it reduce your taxable profit? If the answer is yes to any of those, it might be worth having a look. But always talk to your accountant first. Make sure it makes sense for your specific situation. Don't just spend for the sake of it. Spend with intention. So now let me tie all of this together, because when I look at that $20,000, I see something that most people wouldn't see from the outside. People see successful businesses and they see the outcome, the clients, the growth, the brand, the team, but they don't always see what it costs to build it. And I don't just mean money, I mean decisions. The moments where you have to choose between keeping the cash and investing in something that might not show a return for months. The copywriting won't pay for itself this week, but it will pay for itself over the next 12 months through better messaging, better conversion, and more of the right clients finding us. The hour retreat won't transform my business overnight, but 6 months from now, the way I use tech in my practice will be fundamentally different. And that gives us an edge. The sales retreat won't make me a better closer by Friday, but the next discovery call I have will be different, more confident, more clear, and more likely to result in a business owner getting the help they actually need. The annual subscriptions won't feel exciting, but next year's cash flow will be cleaner and my tax position for this year will be smarter. So none of these investments are flashy. Nobody posts about prepaying their Xero subscription on Instagram. Actually, I don't think Xero allows prepay. But nobody films a reel about paying a copywriter. These are behind the scenes decisions that don't get likes or comments, but quietly make the business stronger. And that's the lesson. The biggest investment are always the ones you see. They're the ones that make you think differently, serve people better, and build a stronger business. And that's where the real returns come from, not from looking successful, from being better. And I think this is something business owners need to hear more often, because there's so much noise about scaling and revenue and growth, and not enough conversation about what it actually takes to build something sustainable. It takes investing in yourself when it's uncomfortable. It takes spending money on things that don't have an immediate return. It takes betting on your own growth as a business owner because the business can only grow as fast as the person running it. So if you're not developing, the business plateaus. If you're not learning, the business stagnates. And if you're not investing in your own skills, your own knowledge, capacity, the business hits a ceiling. Every dollar I spent this month has a purpose: to communicate better, to learn faster, to become better at sales, to prepare the business for what's next. I'm not spending money to look successful. I'm investing so I can build a business that lasts. So let me leave you with this. When was the last time you invested in yourself as a business owner? Not in the business, in yourself. When was the last time you spent money on learning something new, or getting better at something you've been avoiding, or bringing in someone who can do something better than you can? If it's been a while, I'd encourage you to think about where the next investment should go. It doesn't have to be $20,000. It could be a course, a mentor, a coach, a retreat, a professional you've been meaning to hire, a skill you've been meaning to develop. The point is to keep growing, keep stretching, keep getting uncomfortable, because that's where the real growth happens. Not in the things you already know how to do, but in the things you don't. And if you're worried about whether you can afford it, that's a numbers question, and numbers are something we can figure out. Look at your profit, look at your allocations, look at your forecast, and make the decision from data, not fear. A money-first CEO doesn't avoid investing. They invest with intention. They invest for margin, and they invest in the things that make the business stronger, not just the things that make it look bigger. So your one takeaway: identify one area of your business where you've been doing it yourself because you didn't want to spend the money. Ask yourself honestly, is that costing you more in time and results than it would cost to bring in a professional? If the answer is yes, that's your next investment. Make it this month. That's it for today's episode. Keep putting your money first and the rest will follow. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for hanging out with me on Money First CEO. If you got value from this episode, hit subscribe, drop a 5-star review, and share it with someone who's building their business too. All the goodies are in the show notes, and you can find me on socials for more tips and tools to help you. Until next time, keep putting money first and the rest will follow.